It is Sunday. Y'all know what that means? That means it's a day that ends in Y. That means it's a day that we have a real money fantasy football draft kicking off. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's go ahead. Let's hop into here. And yes, I know a lot of people want to see us do those super flex drafts. We had a super flex draft yesterday. We had a super flex draft the day before. Actually, now that it looks like we have 10 spots open in this league, maybe we want to bounce from this and go into a super flex. We'll see how many people can fill this up really quick. And this is for everybody who's always in the comment section telling me, Mason, you know it's impossible to get into these leagues. I signed up for Underdog Fantasy. I used promo code FLOCK to draft with you. And I'm sorry, but I just can't get in. People fill up these live streams too quickly. Okay, are you looking at this? We have 9 spots available right now. You have more than enough time to be able to come in here and hop into this draft. This is going to be a 12-team half PPR. Of course, it's going to be a best ball draft as well. And here on Underdog Fantasy, if you want to get into our next draft, if you want to go hop into a draft with us at anytime, because we do these every single day, or if you want to just go draft in the public lobby, if you're scared of the flock, fine. I get it. I understand. But you could still go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK, and they will also give you a 100% deposit match up to $100. You'll get our 2022 rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. And for everybody asking in the chat right now what draft room we are in, this is Best Ball Mania. Okay, this is going to be the $25 buy-in. A ridiculous $2 million to first place, $1 million to second place, so on down the line. Of course, first place in your 12-team league gets paid. Second place in your 12-team league gets paid. But a small percentage of every single league pot is set aside for the tournament at the very end of the season. There are about 4 spots open. 4 spots open left in this draft, so I think we should be able to kick this off. And if I'm going to waste some time and ask something from you, if I have to kill some time, might as well ask you to go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Looks like this is about to get kicked off, and we have some people on the chat. We got A1 R-Man says, good morning or afternoon. Alexander says, bro, it's my first time back. Awesome to see you. Happy to see you out here as well, my man. And we have Chimichanga in the chat. I saw you in one of my drafts this morning. Okay, so looks like this draft is full. We got Girthquake. Of course, Girthquake set us up with this beautiful sign behind us. If you don't know that Noah did that for us. We have Tommy. We have Zach, Chimichanga. We have a lot of tough competition here at the 105. It is going to be nice because we are going to be looking at a range where we still have access to those top 5 elite level players. We still are able to bring in probably Jamar Chase. Now, if we instead get Justin Jefferson, if we get Christian McCaffrey, if we somehow, some way end up with Cooper Kupp, of course, I'm not going to complain, but most likely we are going to be looking at Jamar Chase at pick 5. If I have to go through and guess it down the line, I'm going to guess Jonathan Taylor, Tommy. Tommy seems like a Cooper Kupp kind of guy. Chimichanga, Justin Jefferson, Zach, Christian McCaffrey, and us, Jamar Chase. That's my guess for the top 5. Let's see how wrong we are. Jonathan Taylor goes. Cooper Kupp 2. Okay, so we are 2 for 2 right now. 2 for 2. Of course, this is the easiest part to guess. Justin Jefferson 3. We are 3 for 3. Let's see if Zach decides to go Chase. He does go Chase. So we are actually going to end up with Christian McCaffrey at 5. With Christian McCaffrey, yes, you are taking, I don't want to say a large risk, but yes, we have to at least acknowledge the fact that this is a running back that is at a higher probability for injury compared to other players that we would see at the position. However, he also has a significantly higher ceiling than anybody else we would see at the position. So I'm going to be completely fine drafting him here at the 105. Now, what's difficult and what is very tough is what we are going to be doing in the second, what we are going to be doing in the third round, because I expect that we're probably not going to have wide receivers in this range that we're too excited about. But in this underdog draft, y'all know on those super flex drafts, in the super flex drafts, I'm fine punting wide receiver because you only have to start 2 every single week. Where here you have to start 3 wide receivers every single week. You also have that additional flex spot. So if you have 8 starting spots in this lineup and 4 of them can be made at the wide receiver position, that is going to place a premium on that position. So it is going to be pretty tough to pass up, but at the same time, usually the running backs around pick 20 are a little more exciting than the wide receivers. Chimichanga says he was in 2 drafts with us this morning. Okay, my man. I was not paying too much attention to the names. I definitely saw you in 1. I didn't know you were in 2 drafts with us this morning. And yes, if y'all don't know, I am addicted to these drafts. There's nothing more fun on this planet than these real money fantasy football drafts. So you probably see me in the public lobby very often. I'm drafting nonstop. I've drafted at this point, I think, I don't want to say we're closing in on 200 drafts, but we're about to be able to say that. Just a couple more days, and we'll be able to say that we're closing in on 200 real money drafts. And dear God, Travis Kelce makes it to pick 16. Mark Andrews makes it to pick 17 here. Okay, so we need to take note of this in saying this draft room, I don't want to say is going to disrespect the tight end position, but we are not necessarily incentivized to go out of our way. And I hate to do it. I want to say in a vacuum. I want to be on record. Yes, Saquon Barkley in a regular fantasy football league, Leonard Fournette in a regular fantasy football league, way better than Tyreek Hill here. But this is a best ball mania. You have to grab your wide receivers. If you don't grab your wide receivers, you're going to be put in a very difficult spot. So I would rather have the combination of, say, Tyreek Hill and Nick Chubb, or Tyreek Hill and Javonte Williams, compared to if we go the opposite way. If we take Barkley here, then we're going to be looking at like Saquon Barkley and Mike Williams. Give me Tyreek Hill and Nick Chubb versus Saquon Barkley and Mike Williams. We just have to go with the receivers, even though it sucks. But I completely forgot what we were even saying beforehand. But let's pull back this draft. I am fine. I'm comfortable with the start of Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. Now, if we are talking about how we should construct this team beyond this, usually I'd be looking at Kyle Pitts at pick 29. But as I've already discussed, when you see that team at 9, see the team at 10, see the team at 11, see that team at 12, decide to pass on Travis Kelce twice, what I think we have a shot at is getting Darren Waller falling to pick 44. And if we have that shot at getting Darren Waller to fall to pick 44, in my opinion, there's not too much pressure on having to grab this tight end with Kyle Pitts with this next one. Okay. So let's go ahead. Colin says, finally catching a live stream live. Been watching your videos a lot recently because I'm new to fantasy football and been trying to make sure when my league starts up, I want to compete right away. Thank you, my man, for supporting the channel, watching our videos. And if you are new to fantasy football, what's nice is you can watch our videos, and when you lose year 1 because of us, because you were watching our videos, I can say, oh no, man, you're just new. You're just new. You weren't understanding. It's on you. In reality, it's probably going to be on me. But we have Leonard Fournette and Nick Chubb going off the board at the beginning of the 3rd. If Kamara does make it to us, I know that a lot of people have been clowning on me for taking Alvin Kamara, and in a regular fantasy football league, hell, I agree with you. Laugh at me over and over and over again if you're taking Alvin Kamara with the potential 6-game suspension here in the middle of the 3rd round. Now, before we get the suspension, there is volatility in this draft pick, and then we know if Alvin Kamara, say, he goes in front of the league, yada, 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 they only suspend him for 2 to 3 weeks, and it's a possible 6. They don't suspend him at all, which is, I don't want to say unlikely, but it's still in the range of outcomes. Alvin Kamara is never making it here into the 3rd round. So what we have to understand is we have to understand the dynamic that we are looking at in these Best Ball Mania drafts. Yes, I'm trying to win this league. I'm trying to get 2nd place in this league. I'm trying to win money immediately. But most importantly, I am trying to do a couple different things. I'm trying to access the highest ceiling possible for weeks 15, 16, and 17, because if you get 1st or 2nd here, you make it to that playoff tournament where that real life-changing money is. So we want the highest ceiling possible for those 3 weeks. And also, we are trying to create unique super teams. So what happens if next week the league comes out and goes, you know what, Alvin Kamara, 2-game suspension. And then all of a sudden, Alvin Kamara goes from a player being drafted in the middle of the 3rd to all of a sudden a player being drafted in the middle of the 2nd. Then any team that's drafted in this contest in August, any team that's drafted in this contest late July, they have no shot at building this team with Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, and Alvin Kamara. So yes, we're bringing on a little volatility. Yes, we are taking on a risk. But when we are drafting in a league that's a $25 buy-in, $2 million at first, I'm all about risk. I'm all about volatility. That's what I'm chasing. I'm trying to get that top 1 percentile outcome. Hell, getting 6th place does not win you any money. Getting 7th place does not win you any money. So, hell, I don't care if I get 12th or 6th. But now we have Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson going. Deontay Johnson's a wide receiver I have seen consistently fall near the end of the fourth round at this point. And this is in these underdog drafts where wide receivers are naturally just pushed up. With Deontay Johnson, he was the wide receiver 7 on a per game basis last year. With Deontay Johnson, this was a wide receiver that averaged 10.5 targets per game. He's still on his rookie deal. He was drafted in 2019. This is a young wide receiver as well. I personally love this price point of Deontay Johnson. I mean, if we're looking at Deontay Johnson next to someone like Jerry Jeudy, behind Courtland Sutton, behind Michael Pittman Jr., Michael Pittman Jr. has never come close to a season of what Deontay Johnson has done. Like, I'm taking Deontay Johnson here, honestly, pretty easily. Tommy says, that was tough to pass on Kyle Pitts and Josh Allen. Yeah, I'm there. I usually take Kyle Pitts in the third round, like I already discussed, like where Zach decides to take Kyle Pitts. I think if you're talking about in a vacuum, the top 1 percentile outcome for Kyle Pitts has him just as a player that is prime Travis Kelce that legitimately you cannot win your league without, because Kyle Pitts profiles as someone that can be a top 5 receiver in the NFL, let alone the fact that he has tight end eligibility. Now, as I discussed, the reason we decided to go out of our way and say, you know what, if Kyle Pitts fell to us in the third round, we weren't going to be drafting him, is because we looked at the trend of these teams at the end of round 1, the beginning of round 2, passing on those tight ends. And what did I say? I said there was a shot that we ended up having Darren Waller fall to us at pick 44, which is exactly what happens. Hell, it's almost as if I've been in 200 of these drafts and I can kind of figure out what the trend is going to be through the first few rounds. So we are going to go ahead and take Darren Waller, pick 44. I am comfortable with it, and there would be some draft rooms where if we would have had George Kittle falling to us at pick 53, I would have decided, you know what, let's create a unique build. Let's go with the bully tight end strategy. Let's take Darren Waller 44 and take George Kittle 53. It may be difficult to do that in this room, because what I would be very worried about is I'd be very worried about then taking George Kittle, pick 53, which we don't even have the option, just talking out loud here. And then all of a sudden you have like Pat Frymuth falling 24 picks behind his ADP. You have Cole Kmet going next to wide receivers that Cole Kmet himself will outscore. And we were sitting there with Darren Waller, George Kittle saying, you know what, I guess we can't really take advantage of this value. So based on how we are seeing these tight ends fall in terms of Kelce, Andrews, Waller, I would be less likely in a league like this to try to go with that bully tight end strategy. Doesn't even matter though, because he does indeed go at pick 46. So we're probably going to end up looking at a wide receiver here, unless that wide receiver is he who must not be named, someone that I am just not interested in at all. I don't want to queue up the players I'm looking at, because like I said, the majority of the people in this live stream right now are part of the flock in this draft. Montgomery would have been in play for us at 53. Like, that goes back to what I was discussing and saying, I really want to take Justin Jefferson over someone like Christian McCaffrey in a lot of these drafts, because you're able to just soak up that David Montgomery 5th round value. Okay, so Zach on the clock. He goes Bateman. Hell yes. I was worried about us not getting Lamar Jackson, one of my favorite selections in the 5th round here, going ahead and getting that elite level quarterback and allowing us to go through and build around only 2 QBs and 2 tight ends at the same time. Now, maybe you should be concerned, oh, we saw Mahomes fall to pick 47. We saw Herbert fall to pick 48. Is this a sign that potentially this league is also going to disrespect the quarterback position and inherently just push up running backs and receivers? That's 100% in the range of outcomes, but I would say that if you're looking at the ADP for Patrick Mahomes over the past few weeks has been plummeting down these drafts. Like, Patrick Mahomes is a player that very rarely is actually going at his ADP, very rarely going at the beginning of the 4th, the end of the 3rd round anymore. And with Justin Herbert, the reason Herbert usually goes in the middle of the 4th round is if you go ahead and you look at where Keenan Allen and Mike Williams typically go in these drafts, usually you have those wide receivers going in the middle of round 3 as well. So it's just easy for that team that took Mike Williams, took Keenan Allen in the 3rd, to go ahead and just push the button on Justin Herbert. Here you have the team at the 101 monopolizing that Los Angeles Chargers offense, however, and taking both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams at the 2-3 turn. So potentially we can say that's why Justin Herbert fell this far. Of course, I'm just doing some mental gymnastics out here. Y'all are just watching me do some mental gymnastics, trying to convince myself that passing on a wide receiver in the 5th round is not that big of a deal for an elite quarterback like Lamar Jackson. But those mental gymnastics may mean nothing if we just see these wide receivers continue to fly as they are. You have Davis, Cooks, Juju, Godwin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Darnell Mooney, and even Amari Cooper off the board now. This may not be great, guys. We have one wide receiver so far, and that receiver is Tyreek Hill. Okay, so Zach says, are you doing more than one draft today? How about this? Keep it very fair. If we get 200 likes on the live stream, I'll say this right now, 200 likes on the live stream, we will get another draft going. I did tell my girlfriend we would go to the pool in an hour 15, so my ass will be grass if we go ahead and get another draft after this. I will say that I will be in the doghouse, but it's worth it for 200 likes on the live stream. So if you want to, go down there, drop a like on the live stream, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK, get in our next draft. Pretty much everybody in this draft is from the live stream. Now we have Kyler Murray, Dalton Schultz going. Dalton Schultz just continuing to rise, where I think that if you're looking at Schultz and his ADP from about a month or even 6 weeks ago, yes, Dalton Schultz was a value based on the opportunity that's going to be available in Dallas, based on him being surprisingly young, and this being a team that we know is going to push the pace of play. They should be top 5 in pace of play, as well as top 5 in pass to run ratio in game neutral environments. That's the perfect situation for Dalton Schultz. However, it's becoming a steep price. I will say that. Russell Gage, similarly, a player that we talked about a while ago, going out there and draft, but now I can't draft Russell Gage in this range. I'm not taking Russell Gage over Jalen Hurts. I can't do that. Now, this is going to be brutal. We took Lamar, and we may end up grabbing another quarterback. We may end up going back-to-back elite level rushing quarterbacks, taking the volatility with best ball, assuming that we get a top 3 QB every single week. Elijah Mitchell off the board. So let's think through this. It does come down to Devontae Smith or Jalen Hurts. So if we are wanting to get a wide receiver, our next pick is pick 77. Knowing these teams here on the turn, if I was in a regular public lobby, to be completely honest, I'm going to take Jalen Hurts here. But looking at those teams on the turn, looking at what they've done so far in this draft, I am concerned of them just taking Devonta Smith, taking Drake London, taking Adam Thielen, taking Michael Thomas, taking DeAndre Hopkins, and us not having a shot at any of those players on the way back around. And if all of a sudden we're looking through 6 rounds or through 7 rounds and we're forced to push Hunter Renfrow up draft boards? Oh, dear God. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. Chimichanga ends up getting some fantastic value. Oh, you have to be so damn excited about this. Now, this was happening in drafts near the beginning of the offseason where you actually had Jalen Hurts falling here to the end of the 6th round. You used to have it where in the majority of these drafts, Joe Burrow, in my opinion, for the wrong reasons. Now here, Zach obviously needs to get Burrow. He has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. But with Joe Burrow, this was a player that was consistently going ahead of Jalen Hurts in these drafts. Jalen Hurts was falling to the end of the 6th round. And back when that was happening, I was finding myself a ton of times going through and drafting A.J. Brown at the 2-3 turn, knowing that we could stack up Jalen Hurts with him. But since then, oh my gosh, Jalen Hurts has become much more expensive. Jalen Hurts very rarely makes it here. So if you're able to get that unique combination of A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, that is a pairing that has a ton of upside. That is a pairing that I think you can get very excited about. Like I said, I wanted to take Jalen Hurts. I just felt that we would get boxed out of the quarterback position. Boxed out of the wide receiver position if we did not grab Devonta Smith. Now, let's see what these teams do. Antonio Gibson, 74. I would have taken Antonio Gibson if he would have fallen to us. We are going to get one of Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins. I'm definitely going to take one of these guys. I don't want to try to smoke screen this at all. I'll say at some point, I may have to stop myself. At some point, someone's going to have to come to Austin, Texas, take my mouse away from me, take my computer away from me, take this entire live stream away from me if I continue to be irresponsible and draft Michael Thomas in almost every single draft. I'm looking for my phone around me to try to figure out how many of these I've actually taken Michael Thomas in. But I think Michael Thomas is hovering around 20% so far. 20% of my drafts, I've taken him. Going back to what we were discussing with Christian McCaffrey. Yes, you are at an increased risk of just having a player that does not make any contribution whatsoever. I would say that the floor on someone like Michael Thomas is going to be lower than the floor on Brandon Ayuk. It's going to be lower than the floor on A.J. Dillon, yada, yada, yada. We understand this. But going back to what we were saying at the beginning, I'm not trying to get 6th place here. I'm not trying to get 7th place. I'm not trying to just save face and not embarrass myself. I have no problem getting last place in this league. Here, it's a $25 buy and $2 million to first. I am looking for the top 1 percentile outcome that can build us a super team. We took Kamara earlier, so we're setting ourselves up with Winston, setting ourselves up for what we need to hope is the all 2019 team, okay? Going back and showing this off. If somehow, some way we get Winston later on at a value, and then we are looking at a roster that has Christian McCaffrey, who broke fantasy football records in 2019, who has a Michael Thomas, who broke NFL records in 2019, Jameis Winston, who was the league's leading passer in 2019, Alvin Kamara, who's a top 5 running back, Tyreek Hill is a top 5 wide receiver. We know what Lamar Jackson did as well. I think Darren Waller hadn't broken out yet. Actually, no, I think Darren Waller had broken out in 2019 as well. This is legitimately just the all 2019 draft. I think we need to go through and we need to change the title of this live stream. Okay. So Tyler Lockett going pick 88. And of course, just because it happened in 2019 doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but we are more so just chasing players that have access to elite level ceilings. I think we've done a good job of that so far. Okay, so here, one thing that I just don't understand, why the hell does Pollard go this high? Really? Okay, we have Lance at pick 90. We're not going to look at Stafford. There's no reason for us to take Stafford on this team. What we really want is we just want to get Winston coming in to pair up with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. There's one player that I'd be fine with. One guy that I want in this range. Kadarius. That was our guy. We were wanting Kadarius Toney. Let's go through, think through this. Probably going to grab a receiver. We were calling him one of the most overvalued wide receivers in these drafts when he was going at the end of round 7. I still don't like the ADP. I still don't like the average price tag. But we are going to go ahead and take Sky Moore here. I think Sky Moore, if you're looking at median projections, is unlikely to outscore Marquez Valdes-Scantling this upcoming season. But we know historically, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is never going to be a player that profiles as an alpha X wide receiver. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is forever just going to be a field stretching option that can provide random spike weeks, which is, yes, valuable in best ball, but at the same time, we're looking at it and saying, okay, does that help us that much? If we're chasing that top 1 percentile outcome, I think if we're chasing the top 1 percentile outcome, it is possible for Sky Moore to go out there and to dominate as the wide receiver 1 in Kansas City. The reason I pass on Pollard, the reason we pass on Kenneth Walker is just because if we look at the other running backs that are available in this range, I am comfortable with getting a player like Cordell Patterson falling to us. I'm comfortable with a Kareem Hunt falling to us. If we're comparing someone like Kareem Hunt to Tony Pollard, I honestly don't see that big of a difference. I think that they are both going to be running backs that are playing in pseudo committees and have access to elite level ceilings if the starter goes down in front of him. James says, are we doing a Best Ball Mania or Superflex drafts after? How about this? If we get 200 likes in this live stream and y'all go down, just spam the chat, whatever y'all want, we'll get going. Okay. Whatever y'all want, we'll get going. 200 likes in the live stream. Now, let's pull this up. This is why we decided to pass on Tony Pollard earlier, just to grab the wide receiver and then get the running back value that's coming back to us. Now, I will also throw this to y'all in the chat. Now, Kareem Hunt was going to be our guy. Who do y'all want? Do you want Damian Harris or Cordell Patterson? Spam the chat ASAP. First name I see, I'm going with. First name I see, I'm going with between Damian Harris or Cordell Patterson. They're honestly about the same for me. Okay. GA says Harris. We are going to go Damian Harris. I think you are going to get touchdown regression for Damian Harris. I think this is a running back that has no shot at any upside in the receiving game whatsoever. But hell, it's pick 101. What do you want from me? It's after pick 100. Taking Damian Harris isn't the worst thing in the world, even though y'all know I would have preferred Kareem Hunt. This is the problem with having to draft with someone like Zach. He's going to go through. He's going to take Kareem Hunt from us and not even give us the option to go with our guy. Okay. So afterwards, let's see. I don't even know what we want. Like, I'm fine with the tight end. Our team is so damn balanced at this point. If we go through and recap this so far, at the running back position, we have Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Damian Harris. So we are locked into a 5 RB build. We're going to be taking 5 running backs in this draft. We have Darren Waller at tight end. We have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, giving us the option to only have to draft 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. And then at wide receiver, we have Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Michael Thomas, and Sky Moore. So we are definitely weak at receiver. That's why in that basketball format, we are going to attack the position with quantity in this draft in particular. And I think if we can get away with only having to draft 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 2 tight ends, we can take 9 wide receivers, which, hell, I'll take the volatility. I think we can have those guys slide in and out of our lineup. Okay. James says, you should have posted our last Superflex draft an hour ago. You had a killer team at the 107 with Jonathan Taylor. Okay, so I guess James was also in a Superflex draft with us earlier this morning. Those Superflex drafts are a lot harder than they were. Like, back when they first opened up, it was, easy. Quarterback. Done. Let's just then hammer in running backs. Let's grab an elite tight end. Wide receiver doesn't really matter. Now people are on to it. Now if you look at the ADP, if you hop into drafts, it's not as simple as just going quarterback, and letting it ride. So those Superflex drafts, in my opinion, aren't as fun anymore as they once were, just because they used to be so easy when that contest opened. But now it's tough. It's like these Best Ball Mania drafts, very tough. Okay, so after we take Damian Harris, you have Devin Singletary, Chase Edmonds, James Cook, Rashad Penny, Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson sneaking up here. Cordell Patterson still falling. Y'all know we were considering Cordell Patterson. I know that he does have negative reports coming out of Atlanta saying, you know what, it was a fluke, not going to happen again. Cordell Patterson cannot have that type of usage. But, hell, I'm looking at a running back that was a mid to high-end running back 2 last year. Yes, he's 30 years old. Yes, you're expecting serious regression. If you're getting him at pick 116, I'm going to take Patterson if he's here. Tim Patrick goes, okay, good. We are going to get one of Cordell Patterson and Melvin Gordon. Definitely, in my opinion, the best available players by a mile, honestly. I think there's a massive teardrop after these guys. Maybe you make the argument, Mason, Derek Carr's here. You should go Derek Carr over Darren Waller. But Cordell Patterson has fallen. Okay, let me know. Has something happened with Cordell Patterson that I don't know of? Has something happened with him that I don't know? Am I missing a piece of information here? Cordell Patterson, pick 116. I don't see anybody in the chat telling us. Yeah, I don't see anybody telling us something negative about Patterson. So let's go Cordell Patterson, 116. Oh, this is a bad team at wide receiver. This is going to be tough to recover at receiver. Thank God we took Tyreek Hill in the second instead of going with Saquon Barkley. But Alexander Madison goes directly after us. At this point, what we need to see is a receiver value falling. Henry says Cordell Patterson was the running back 7 last year in running back points and running back 13 in points per game through 17 weeks. I am going to have to fact check you on that one. I don't necessarily think that is true. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I think he was a mid running back too. Let's look this up. Actually, why am I even wasting time with that? Let's just pull up my draft guide. And no, I'm sorry, my draft guide is not available yet. I'm hoping to have it available mid-July. But I have written a lot of these chapters, and we already have all the valuable statistics, in my opinion, here. So it's really easy whenever I make a video and I'm going to talk about someone like Cordell Patterson. If I already wrote his chapter, hell, there's so much information there that I essentially just have to read straight from the draft guide, which is really nice. So I need to work a little more on these because it just makes my life so much easier. Okay, Cordell Patterson was the running back 15 on a points per game basis based on what I'm looking at. Maybe I'm slightly off there, but like I said, mid to high end running back 2. Yes, you're expecting serious regression, but they let go of Mike Davis. Mike Davis had a large role last year, so even if Tyler Algier comes in and takes that Mike Davis role, yes, Drake London should come in and take targets, but Russell Gage is gone. Yes, you have a quarterback downgrade, but that's priced in. You're getting him at pick 116. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire up our next selection. I think we just have to go receiver here if we're going to be looking at Jarvis, Galladay, or McCole Hardman. I know a lot of people would say, oh, Mason, you're setting up the New Orleans Saints stack. Let's just go ahead. Let's take Jarvis Landry. You already have Alvin Kamara. You already have Michael Thomas. That's what I would have done a while ago. But whenever we have smaller rosters here with an 18-round draft, I think at some point you actually, I don't want to say you're hurting yourself, but it no longer becomes advantageous to continue to slam in players from a single offense. Like, we are already betting on Kamara. We are already betting on Michael Thomas to be productive this upcoming season, to outscore their ADP. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just need to continue to hammer in that same offense. But especially if we're looking at that playoff setting where we are trying to get the highest ceiling possible, in my opinion, it's very difficult to see all of a sudden Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Jarvis Landry all become league winners at once. Because if Jarvis Landry becomes a league winner here over Kenny Galladay, hell, you know what that meant? It meant that you probably had Michael Thomas getting capped out at like a 20% team target share. Okay, Thomas says, yeah, I had a snowball's chance in hell of actually getting Alexander Madison. Okay, I think you had a shot. You're pick 119. He goes pick 117. I think you had a shot, my man. Okay. Stefan says, Crowder will be a better Cole Beasley if healthy. I have been taking Jamison Crowder in a decent amount of these drafts. I mean, if you're looking at Jamison Crowder, I think you are getting a discount based on the entire overall community just projecting it to be Gabriel Davis. Everybody and their mom's expecting Gabriel Davis to be the guy. Gabriel Davis goes with a 4-5 turn. I understand he's flashed. And in Dynasty, if you're looking at his price on keep trade cut, if you're looking at his price, say, just in a regular real money Dynasty fantasy football, I think he's a fine value. However, in best ball, in these underdog drafts, I think people have gone a little overboard on Gabriel Davis. Like, I tweeted it out, but I refuse to pay the price tag of Gabriel Davis as a top 24 wide receiver. Now, yes, he can burn us, especially in a week-to-week standpoint when there will be so much passing volume in that offense. But I think that you should have a higher target share for Stephon Diggs this upcoming season. I think Stephon Diggs has it in his range of outcomes to be the wide receiver 1 overall. I think you could see a bump up in Dawson Knox's volume. I think you could see this team possibly, just possibly, slide over to having more 2 tight end sets with the addition of O.J. Howard. I think you could see James Cook get involved as a receiver more than Devin Singletary did. And I think you could see Jamison Crowder just plug in 1-for-1 with Cole Beasley. So I am personally a lot more willing to draft Jamison Crowder here in round 12 than I would be willing of Gabriel Davis at the end of the 4th. Easily, in my opinion. Okay, so there are a couple guys I actually like in this range. There are a few names I like. John Dotson goes. That's one of the players that we are going to be looking at. Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker. These are guys that fall in every single draft. Like, I don't know how their ADP is 134 and 136 when I've never seen them be drafted ahead of this. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Devontae Parker or Jacoby Myers be drafted before round 12. Like, there's something broken here. There's somebody behind the scenes tinkering. Devontae Parker goes 138. Hell, it's fine. We'll just go ahead and we will just take a tight end. We'll take one of Irv Smith Jr. or Cole Kmet. I'm fine with either. None of them really match up on the Darren Waller buy. Okay, Racket Millie. Where does he go? He goes Daniel Jones. Interesting to see him reach on Daniel Jones there. Don't really understand that in my opinion. But let's just go ahead. Let's take Irv Smith Jr. Maybe we can use the tiebreakers saying, oh, well, here with Cole Kmet, this is a tight end that shares the same buy with our main primary stack in that New Orleans Saints offense. And I know we're talking about the importance of getting that stack in New Orleans, getting Jameis Winston on the same roster where we have Michael Thomas, getting Jameis Winston on the same roster that we have Alvin Kamara. And I want to say it is very important. If you're drafting Jameis Winston, it's on a team where you have his pass catchers. Whereas we maybe are looking like a hypocrite where we have Lamar Jackson. We don't have a single other player in Baltimore, and I'm not concerned at all. And we've talked about this before, but I think it's very important to understand when you're trying to create correlation in your starting lineup, to understand when we're trying to raise our ceiling overall, that Lamar Jackson, he can be the quarterback one, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Rashad Bateman is a league winner, that Mark Andrews is a pure league winner, because it's in the range of outcomes for Lamar Jackson to have 12 rushing touchdowns. It's possible for him to have 600 rushing yards, and that doesn't benefit anybody besides Lamar Jackson. So you can create a super team with Lamar as a standalone player in that Baltimore Ravens offense. However, is it possible for Jameis Winston to lead the NFL in passing without Michael Thomas becoming a league winner, without Alvin Kamara becoming a league? Probably not. So you can see that the success of Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston most likely are heavily correlated, whereas that may not necessarily be the case with someone like Lamar Jackson as well as Mark Andrews, because with Lamar, you're betting on the rushing upside. You're not necessarily betting on passing volume or passing efficiency. Okay, so let's fire up Jameis Winston here. We're going to reach on him 4 picks, scored in ADP. Who the hell cares? And after this, we just need one more running back on this team. Like, I think this team's pretty damn set at running back with Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Damian Harris, and Cordell Patterson. Even if we have Kamara, say, suspended at the beginning of the season, yes, it may be hard to overcome, but what we can say is we can say, oh, okay, well, we will have Christian McCaffrey, Damian Harris, Cordell Patterson, not missing a single week there. We know that all of their bye weeks are in the double digits, so we don't necessarily have to worry about being thin. And like I said, when you're drafting this team in particular, you're drafting it as a what-if scenario that Alvin Kamara doesn't get suspended 6 weeks, which is still in the range of outcomes. Still in the range of outcomes for Alvin Kamara to say only get suspended 2, only get suspended 4, maybe not get suspended at all. Not likely, but possible. We're trying to build the super team. Okay. So we have Hunter Henry pick 155, Darrell Williams pick 154. At this point, we just want to see these tight ends off. Like whenever we have Irv Smith Jr. and Darren Waller, especially whenever we're so weak at wide receiver and we need extra spots on this roster for the wide receiver position in general, like we can't take any more tight ends here. So it benefits us to see tight ends go. Benefits us to see quarterbacks go as well. I think when we have Winston at pick 149 and we take Lamar Jackson round 5 as well, probably going to be done drafting quarterback because this team is really built around that New Orleans Saints offense, as scary as that sounds. So if Winston does not become a top 10 quarterback this season, hell, this team's garbage regardless. Seems garbage regardless. So we have to just assume that Winston's that top 5 quarterback if this team's top 10 quarterback at the minimum, if this team's going to make any noise. Okay, so let's go ahead, pull this up. If we were to take a Kenneth Gainwell, if we were to take a Keel Herbert, they would be our last running back. And we would only be receivers from there. Ryan goes, it's good for us. Good for us. I would be surprised to see Njoku or Everett go here. Yeah, you have Odell Beckham Jr. Oh, dear God. Unless there was some Odell news that I didn't know of. That's a very bad selection. I'm excited to go Gainwell here. Let's go Kenneth Gainwell. Fire up our 5th running back. We only have 5 wide receivers, and those 5 wide receivers, no bueno. No bueno. Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Michael Thomas, Sky Moore, Kenny Golladay. Now we're going to draft 4 more of these guys. Start queuing these players up because this is the only thing we can look at. The only thing we are allowed to draft from now on is the wide receiver position when we have punted it to the furthest extreme up until this point. G Hall coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. This is a disclaimer. Bengals fan here. Superflex full PPR traded Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen for Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Willis, and a future second. What are your thoughts? I think with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they're in the exact same tier in Dynasty, so we can just say that's a wash. And if we're looking at Keenan Allen versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Willis, and a future second, I think if I was a rebuilding roster, hell, I'd take the package. If I was a contender, I'd probably take Keenan Allen. So I think it's a fair deal. If you're a Bengals fan, hell, you do you. Go get a guy that you can root for. So after this, we have Pickens going pick 168. I don't think I would take Sammy Watkins here, even if he fell. Like, the issue with Watkins, I've talked about this before, but he's not guaranteed a roster spot if you look at the contract. Now, reports are sounding good of Sammy Watkins. Last I checked, I know a lot of people in the chat were excited about Watkins. He goes pick 170. Gerald Everett, 171. I feel like whenever I look stuff up on Twitter now, like it used to be if you look up, say, Sammy Watkins on Twitter, you only get tweets of Sammy Watkins. Like it has to be in the actual tweet, the name. Whereas now, like you get related tweets where like we're looking at Aaron Rodgers, king of the back shoulder throw. This has no relevant news to Sammy Watkins for me. Please, please, only show me news about the players that I actually search. Y'all know here. Should I go grab it real quick? It's going to be hard for me. Okay. We are going to take KJ Hamler, and I'm going to run to the other side of this office. I'm going to grab something. Hold it up for y'all. Okay. I will be right back. It will take me 10 seconds, and it will be worth it. So do not go anywhere. Oh, dear God. It is so hard to move around this. I have cords everywhere. Okay. But hopefully you didn't leave. And I think maybe we make this a thing. Every time we draft a player where we have their jersey, maybe we have to go up, hold up their jersey. Let me think. We don't have anybody else on this team, I think. But show off Mr. KJ Hamler here. We'll put him in the background. Hopefully y'all can see it for the rest of this. Okay, you can't see him, but just know he's there, okay? This is the KJ Hamler team now. The wide receiver, hopefully 3 in Denver based on this draft, but probably wide receiver 4 behind Tim Patrick. I think we can assume. Okay. So Jared Goff, Mac Jones go off the board. That's going to be good for us. Same thing. I mean, we've had 6 picks in a row here, no wide receivers. 7 picks in a row, no wide receivers. Great for us when we need these wide receivers falling. And real quick, like I said, if we get 200 likes in this live stream, we will get another draft going after this one. Hell, this live stream's had over 1,200 viewers. I think that's more than fair, especially knowing that my girlfriend will literally kill me if we do another draft after this. Okay, so let's pull this up. And y'all know a player that I just can't stop drafting. Very similar to Michael Thomas, where y'all may have to come break down my door and take me away so I can stop lighting my money on fire. I can't stop drafting Will Fuller. I can't. Logan Thomas, 183. CJ Uzama, good. Get these guys off. Hell, someone take Robinson. And why is Brian Robinson still down here in ADP? I feel like Brian Robinson's such a strong value. Okay, Wandale off the board. I almost want people to take David Bell and Curtis Samuel so we can get Will Fuller. Will Fuller goes. So we will go ahead, take David Bell, our second rookie on this team, going alongside Sky Moore. With David Bell, hyper-productive player at Purdue, is going to fill that Jarvis Landry role in Cleveland. Of course, not looking that good considering the fact that you may have Jacoby freaking Brissett starting for the majority of games for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. And that is not exciting to say the least, but David Bell is an exciting player. There is an outside chance that when we get to weeks 15, 16, 17, where that money really is, you have Watson back in Cleveland. If you have Watson back in Cleveland, then hell, we are going to be looking at an offense that is hyper efficient and hyper productive. We have Kevin Effect out here telling everybody to smash the like. Thank you for coming out, my man. I have not seen you out here in a while. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention to the chat. Let me give a shout out to, it looks like just pulling up the chat, what I need to thank all of y'all for. And you know, I say it at the end of every live stream, the end of every video, but I could not mean it more. Y'all have no idea how much I appreciate y'all. Legitimately going and checking the chat. It's the same people out in every live stream, the same people watching every single video. Guys, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like very rarely do we see new people out in the chat. It's like we have over 300 people watching this live stream. And these are the same 300 people that probably watched our video yesterday. I watched the live stream yesterday. I watched us take Julio Jones over and over again. So let's go Julio Jones here as our 7th or 8th receiver. So I think we have done a fine job fixing the wide receiver position here. So if we go ahead, yes, we are definitely in a bad spot at receiver. I mean, if we're looking at this team, we have Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Michael Thomas, but this team hinges on Michael Thomas being back in 2019. Now, he doesn't have to be the wide receiver one overall, but if he can be a top 10 guy, that's what this team kind of hinges on. Devonta Smith, Sky Moore, Kenny Golladay, KJ Hamler, David Bell, Julio Jones. I think these last 3 guys can provide us random spike weeks to get through the season and to give us some type of ceiling at the end of the year, because we should be very strong elsewhere. We have Lamar Jackson, Jameis Winston. We have Darren Waller, Irv Smith Jr. And at running back, we have CMC, Alvin Kamara, Damian Harris, Cordell Patterson, and Kenneth Gainwell. So I do like this team. Okay. So it looks like it's Deggy says, I see another draft coming, smiley face. Yeah, it looks like we are going to hit 200 likes in the live stream. So you know what I need to do to save some time so my girlfriend doesn't kill me is I need to go ahead and queue up some wide receivers. And Devin Duvernay should have been our pick in the last round whenever we have Lamar. And also we have a Devin Duvernay poster over there that JN gave us. So we'd have been able to hold that up in the live stream as well. But let's queue up some guys. Let's get in our next draft so we can get this fired up right away. Right away. I do not need to be in the doghouse tonight. I'll tell you that. So we are hopping in. I think in the chat earlier, we saw people say they wanted to see a Best Ball Mania draft. So we just hopped into a Best Ball Mania draft. That's going to be the $25 buy-in. That's going to be another 1 quarterback league. So maybe we just do Best Ball Mania because we titled the live stream 12-team half PPR fantasy football mock draft. We don't want to confuse anybody who's coming in a little bit later. But Tommy coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, Mason, it's been great to finally get in a draft with you. Would have loved to get a draft grade from where you felt we were unintentionally on the same plan. Okay, Tommy, please remind me at the end of the live stream. I will try to get that. Like I said, we had a bounce from that draft almost immediately. I apologize. I know we saw you. I think you were drafting at the 103. Maybe it was the 102. Definitely at the same side of the draft with us and taking some guys that I wanted. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I think, Tommy, did you end up getting the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stack? Was that you? Please let me know. But here we are going to be at the 109. And I think we have some new names in this draft with us. Now, I think we have about 7 people based on how this draft filled up that are from the live stream right now. About half the draft from the live stream. I know Resident is a part of the flock. They were out here very often. Blaze is as well. FSU for Cole. Maybe they're part of the flock. Maybe I just see them in drafts all the time. They do have the red experience badge there. So maybe they're just a grinder and I'm mistaken thinking that they are in here all the time. Matthew says he's Blaze. Okay, I knew you were Blaze, my man. And let me know. James says he's in the draft. Okay, so let's look at, try to find James's name. James, let me know what your name is here. And of course, if you want to get into our next draft with us, which we do this every freaking day, if you want to go get in a draft in the public lobby, if you want to have some fun in your life, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Go use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Link in the live chat, link in the description of the video, link in the comment section. It's everywhere. And you use promo code FLOCK. They'll give you our 2022 rankings, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. That's like 130 pages. You'll also get our dynasty rankings. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So you're getting paid to play fantasy football. You're getting paid to try out these leagues because I can tell you they're addicting. Underdog Fantasy knows you are not going to be able to stop drafting, as I'm not able to stop, as evidenced by almost 200 drafts this year. Sam says, can you do a 0 RB build? We did a 0 RB build in a video a couple days ago. It's hard for us to go into a live stream saying, oh yeah, this is going to be a 0 RB team, because then everybody around us knows exactly what we're doing. That's tough. I don't necessarily know we can say exactly what we're going to do right now. I think that we have to just continue to zig when others zag, and then we have to try to find value where it is. And hell, we're going to go Najee Harris. We're not going to go with the 0 RB build. It is what it is. We're going to take the running back that should have a 3-down workload. Maybe we go with an anchor running back, hero running back, whatever the hell you want to call it. Let's go Najee Harris. The reason I've stopped taking Kelsey as often at pick 8, at pick 9 as I was is simply because it was so frustrating. And I repeat, so frustrating taking Travis Kelsey there, say at pick 9 over Najee Harris, and then looking at Mark Andrews fall to us at pick 16. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I would love to take Mark Andrews, but now I'm going to get pressured into taking someone like DeAndre Swift, which I have no interest in. So I want to take Najee here now. Just say, okay, we still have it in our back pocket. We still have the option to go ahead and grab one of my favorite players. I don't want to say values because, hell, you have to pay up for him. He's going at the beginning of the second. But one of my favorite players in Mark Andrews, which is exactly what we do now. And I will say, if you're playing in a regular fantasy football league, Mike Evans is very appealing here. Like, the reason I'm not drafting Mike Evans that often on the live stream is because we are getting into these tournament style drafts. And if you think about this, in those tournament style drafts, Mike Evans should have his production front loaded. You should expect that Mike Evans is a top 3 wide receiver through the first month of the season when you have no Godwin, especially now that Gronk's retired. However, when are we wanting points in our lineup here? When is the most important time to get points? Weeks 15, 16, 17. You know Godwin will be back by then. And in this tournament style draft, if we expect that Mike Evans front loads that production, the issue is Mike Evans may have a very high advanced rate. So when you are in that tournament, if you have Mike Evans, you have a player that even if he goes off, hell, it's not going to differentiate. You're not going to have a different team than the crowd. So everybody will benefit, or a large portion of people will benefit from Mike Evans having a random spike week with 2 to 3 touchdowns in that environment. Whereas I would rather take the player that's low owned, that has access to the same level ceiling during that playoff tournament. If we can get Chris Godwin at the beginning of the 6th, then to fit that's what I'm going with. Now, of course, if you're playing in a regular league where you can go through and you can make trades and you don't have to worry about the large field tournament, hell, Mike Evans is going to be like a top 3 wide receiver at the beginning of the season. And then whenever Godwin comes back, he'll still be a top 10 wide receiver. So Mike Evans is a very appealing selection. Just letting y'all know why I think that Mike Evans is still a great pick in fantasy, even though I don't draft them too often in these tournament drafts. GA says Mason's profitability is all in on Travis Kelsey and Mark Andrews this year. Yes, I wish I could find my phone so I can show y'all exactly how much Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey I've drafted. Let's go ahead and here. Let me just pull up another tab. Hopefully this doesn't ruin the live stream. What does it show? Okay, perfect. We are set. Let me search up how many leagues I've drafted Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey in. As I will tell you, if either one of those players go down, like somehow, y'all know we were 20% of our drafts in on the combination of Cam Akers and Travis Etienne last year. Some of my favorite running backs in drafts. We got lucky in saying, I don't know how. I legitimately don't know how. But we got lucky enough to make money on Underdog Fantasy despite having so much Akers and Travis Etienne last season. Whereas I'm unsure if we're going to be able to overcome that now. If I go ahead, I'm not looking at our Superflex drafts as well. That's in a different side bracket. I have exactly 17% Mark Andrews, and I have exactly 17% Travis Kelsey. Here's what I want to ask from y'all, and I will give you a hint. It is very similar to last season. Who is my most drafted player so far? It's like over 250 drafts in. Who is my most drafted player so far? I will give you a hint. He was top 5 to 10 last season because for whatever reason, people on Underdog hate the man. James says Diggs. It's not a round 1 guy. It's not a round 2 guy. Kyle says Sutton. Yes, it is Cortland Sutton. Of course not. Swizzworld gets the answer. Josh Jacobs. I have Josh Jacobs in exactly 20% of these drafts. I have Josh Jacobs. I'm drafting Josh Jacobs 1 out of every 5 drafts. Jalen Waddle is up there. Rivers guessing. Michael Thomas is up there as well. Stephon Diggs is very surprising to be up there that high, considering he's a round 1 guy. I have him in 18% of these drafts. But yeah, no, I'm very in on Josh Jacobs because the opportunity cost isn't really there. And oh dear God. Are we doing it again? Kamara goes, so we don't have to take Alvin Kamara. We don't have to look like a straight up fool. And you know what we're going to do? We are going to look like a fool in the opposite direction. We are going to go ahead and pass on Michael Pittman Jr., someone that I haven't been taking very often, one of my least owned players. We're going to be going with Jalen Waddle, someone in a worse situation, who's the wide receiver 2 in his offense. However, I think he's a significantly better wide receiver. I think he will have access to spike weeks despite Tyreek Hill being there based on his big playability he showed at Alabama when he's not the focal point of an offense. So we're going to take Waddle, 33. We're going to hope for the best. Okay, so James Conner goes 35. And what sucks is I just thought in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, we can get Darren Waller at the beginning of the 4th. It does suck when you take a Mark Andrews at pick 16. It's very difficult to go ahead and to grab Darren Waller here, even if we think he's a great value at pick 40. Like, if I don't want to queue up exactly who I want because we do have Residic watching this live stream, definitely. He's definitely a part of the vlog. And he has Mixon, Hollywood Brown, and Travis Kelce. And Hiccup says, Mason, why do you not like James Conner? I think James Conner is a fine value here. The issue is it's not necessarily the player James Conner. It's that you have to start 3 wide receivers in this format, and wide receivers will get soaked up if you decide to pass on up here. And if we go through and if we look at the opportunity cost to select James Conner, like here at the end of the 3rd round, it's going to come down to, okay, do I want James Conner or Jalen Waddle? In a vacuum, you probably want James Conner. But what if I were to tell you, hell, that player I was just talking about, Josh Jacobs, you can get him in round 6? Like, do I prefer the combination of Jalen Waddle and Josh Jacobs or James Conner and whatever round 6 wide receiver would be there, Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, let me know in the chat. Am I wrong? Would you rather have James Conner and Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jalen Waddle and Josh Jacobs? I'm favoring the Jalen Waddle and Josh Jacobs side of things. We got to act fast. We will go Travis Etienne, a player that's been skyrocketing up. I had a lot more Travis Etienne in last year's drafts because with Etienne, he was going at the 5-6 turn. You weren't having to pay the price point of him at the beginning of the 4th. What I will say with Travis Etienne is maybe make the argument he's in a better situation this year, obviously, with the coaching staff being completely different. You no longer have Urban Meyer, and on top of it, you do have a very serious injury to James Robinson. I don't like the idea of having to pay a higher price tag on Travis Etienne, though, coming off a year where he just missed the entire season. And on top of that, with Travis Etienne, you were looking at a running back that's probably in a worse offense than what we thought they would be. I mean, y'all know coming into the NFL, everybody, including myself, we all thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be great. Like, that was the assumption in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. Based on his rookie season performance, it looks unlikely that that's still the case. So I'm less excited to pay a higher price of Travis Etienne, but we've been saying it for over a year. If you're drafting Travis Etienne, you're essentially just drafting DeAndre Swift. You're drafting Aaron Jones. You're drafting Alvin Kamara. They're all the same player. They are running backs that get every single target out of their backfield and are still big enough to be able to have a role in the red zone at the same time. So we'll take Travis Etienne, pair him up with Najee Harris, the 2 first-round running backs from last year's NFL draft. Okay. Rivers says, are you doing any Superflex puppy drafts today, Mason? Maybe I'll get one going on the Dynasty channel later. Complete honesty, those Superflex drafts, in my opinion, are less fun and less appealing to hop in now that everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows how valuable those quarterbacks actually are. In the first and second day, I was able to go through and start off drafts going like Joe Burrow, Trey Lance, and Kirk Cousins. Like starting drafts over and over and over again, getting like Kirk Cousins at the very end of the 3rd round. Getting Derek Carr sometimes mid-round 3, late round 3. And now that's never happening. It is a lot harder to build those super teams, in my opinion. People have realized, hell, we should probably push these quarterbacks up. They are going to drive win rate to a drastic degree, but it is what it is. Jake says, why Jalen Waddle over Michael Pittman Jr.? Okay, let's go through and talk about a couple different things here. Let's talk about the fact that Jalen Waddle is a younger wide receiver. And Jalen Waddle, his rookie season, came out and freaking dominated. Okay, so if you look at Jalen Waddle, this is a wide receiver that was the wide receiver 13 on a points per game basis. He had almost 9 targets a game. He had a 24% team target share. This is a wide receiver that, if you break down rookies with 7.5 targets a game and 63 receiving yards a game since the year 2000, you have Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, AJ Green, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Jalen Waddle. That's the type of player that we were talking about. And that was his rookie season. And if we head over to Michael Pittman Jr., yes, he's big, he's tall. People want to get excited about those big-bodied receivers that look like an alpha on the football field. Look at Cortland Sutton's ADP. Look at Michael Pittman Jr.'s ADP. Look at Mike Williams' ADP. Michael Pittman Jr. was the wide receiver 28 on a per-game basis, significantly behind Jalen Waddle. Yes, maybe you want to get more excited overall. Here, wait 1 sec. Let's do it just because he's our thumbnail. I don't love Bateman in this range. Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, is maybe that better. We'll go Juju. Josh Jacobs is a better value. I kind of regret taking Travis Etienne in the 4th. But going back to what we were talking about with Michael Pittman Jr., yeah, he was good, but he was the wide receiver 28. I don't have him ranked there this upcoming season. I'm ranked as the wide receiver 17, I believe, off the top of my head. But you're expecting some serious progression from Michael Pittman Jr. for him just to get where Jalen Waddle was last year as a rookie. I'd rather just take the younger player that's been more productive so far his NFL career, even if we believe that he's in a worse situation. Jay says, Puppy Superflex winner will be from day one of the contest. I agree with you. That's why I think that it's not as appealing to hop into those puppy drafts as it once was. Now, of course, there are going to be so many opportunities on Underdog to fire up those drafts. I'm just trying to pick the right spots to do so. Okay, so after we go Juju, this is why I'm drafting Josh Jacobs in so many of these leagues. Like, Josh Jacobs usually doesn't even go here. This was like a reach according to Josh Jacobs' ADP. Like, looking at Josh Jacobs versus, usually it's like Josh Jacobs versus Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Elijah Moore. Like, yeah, I know we want to be pushing wide receivers up, but still, come on. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? That's why I have so much Josh Jacobs. Let's take Jalen Hurts. Let's take a quarterback that has access to an elite level ceiling with Jalen Hurts as well, very similar to Lamar Jackson in the last draft. I like taking the quarterbacks that we don't have to have one of their pass catchers. Of course, if you have an A.J. Brown, if you have a Dallas Goedert, if you have a Devontae Smith, you're more excited about Jalen Hurts because they are correlated together just slightly, but very similar to Lamar. You don't have to have one of those pass catchers for Jalen Hurts to be a league-winning player. A.J. Brown doesn't have to be a league-winning player, because Jalen Hurts can get there with 12 rushing touchdowns. He can get there with 600 rushing yards. Jake says, I agree he's better, but aren't you worried about him being wide receiver too? Yeah, and that's baked into his price tag. Like, if you looked in a vacuum, if you looked at those wide receivers that I just listed off with Jalen Waddle, like, let's go back to what I was discussing. Jalen Waddle's rookie season was as impressive as anybody we have seen come since the year 2000, other than Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, AJ Green, Mike Evans, and Amari Cooper. Now, let's ask ourselves at the same time, how many of those wide receivers were being drafted as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy their second season? 0 outside of Jalen Waddle? Like, Jalen Waddle's the only guy. Every other one of those players, I mean, look at where Jamar Chase being drafted. Look at where Justin Jefferson was drafted after year 1. Look at where Odell was. Look at where Julio Jones. Look at where AJ Green. Look at where those guys are being drafted. They were already being drafted as wide receiver 1s. So yes, the situation's very bad for Waddle, but that's baked into his price tag. You're not getting Jalen Waddle with a 3-4 turn without the entire fantasy football community knowing, hell yeah, I mean, there is definitely downside now that you have Tyreek Hill coming over to Miami. Mr. Steph says, I'm new to your channel. What kind of content do you do during the season? Oh, during the season, it's a completely different channel, my man. During the season, I actually turn this into like a baking channel where we go through every single week. We'll have a different dessert that someone has to bake, and then we'll highlight them on the channel. We'll go through, we'll do like cupcakes, we'll do cookies, we'll do brownies one week, completely different. No, of course, my man, I breathe, live, bleed, whatever you want to say. All I do is fantasy football, okay? So during the season, you'll be seeing fantasy football videos every single day, to the point where you're probably going to have to unsubscribe because your entire YouTube feed is just going to be pictures of me doing some idiotic things like that and talking fantasy football. Derek says, chocolate chip week is about to be amazing. Oh yeah, we're going to go nuts, my man. Just wait. Okay, so let's pull this up. I'm very happy with our decision to take Jalen Hurts in the last round. Let's see where this team goes. This team took Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Oh, this team has a ton of upside. I'm assuming they go Brady. Actually, they got sniped on Brady. Who took Tom Brady? Tom Brady went at the 701 and Russell Gage at the end of the 6th. Oh, I liked Russell Gage before, but this price tag getting a little crazy. Let's go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Definitely not a good thing for Clyde Edwards-Helaire to have Jerick McKinnon coming over, but I think if we take CEH here, we can lock ourselves in to only having to draft 5 running backs. That is very advantageous for us, in my opinion. Okay, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 81. Iron says, any thoughts on the FFPC $2,000 buy-in, 4,200 teams for $1 million? Let me go ahead and let me do the rake on that, my man. What I really like about Underdog Fantasy is they are very transparent with the rake. Unlike a lot of other sites, like with Underdog Fantasy, right before you log into a contest, you can see Underdog says, we take 10.6% of this league pot. Whereas if we go through and look at this, times how many? Okay, 2,000. Okay, there's no way that's true, my man. I think you have one of those zeros thrown off, because it looks like FFPC would be having an overlay if that was actually the case with that many teams and that buy-in. ETN says, not realistic to win the whole thing without a stack. I would agree with you if A, the entire field wasn't building around stacks, and B, if you're looking at prototypical pocket passing options, such as Aaron Rodgers, such as Derek Carr. Really only going to get there with the stack if you have those guys. Okay, so do we want to take Hunter Renfrow, or do we want to reach on a quarterback? No, we got to take Hunter Renfrow. It's very boring. Very, very, very boring. But let's go ahead. Let's take Hunter Renfrow. Let's bet that this Las Vegas Raiders passing offense has Derek Carr yet again as a top 5 quarterback in overall passing yards this upcoming season. I wanted to go Lance. I wanted to pull the trigger, but sadly I could not. Hiccup says, last year from watching this channel, I traded AJ Green for Javonte Williams. I wish we didn't have Melvin Gordon there. If we didn't have Melvin Gordon, imagine what would have happened with Javonte. We had a sneak peek of what Javonte Williams looks like without Melvin Gordon, and it was about the most beautiful thing you could ever see. But looks like we are going to be dealing with him yet again, which is definitely frustrating. Okay, so we have Kenneth Walker, pick 91. At this point, we kind of want wide receivers making it to us. I mean, we are already heavily invested in the running back position with Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We have an elite level tight end. We have an elite level quarterback. In my opinion, Jalen Hurts is that in a 4-point passing touchdown format. Okay, so Treylon Burks, pick 93. Burks has been falling a ton based on, in my opinion, reports that we should not be too worried about. I've already gone through and done the rant on Treylon Burks. I don't want to do it again. I will leave that to y'all. Stafford goes 95. Stafford wouldn't have been a player that we are looking at regardless. Stafford is one of those guys that I think if you are expecting to win the entire thing and Stafford becomes that league winning player, if Stafford becomes a league winner, you need Cooper Kupp hitting, you need Allen Robinson hitting. You need one of those guys to break off. So I'm really only interested in taking Stafford on those builds unless Stafford falls like to say like pick 112 and then we can backdoor someone like Tyler Higbee, backdoor someone like Van Jefferson. But Highly unlikely that that happens. Really, you're only taking Stafford if you took Cooper Kupp in round 1. Henry says, I even had Alvin Kamara's 56-point week in week 17 and only finished 27th overall. That is brutal. You know, what actually happened on Underdog Fantasy year 1 at Best Ball Mania is the winner had Alvin Kamara. And Alvin Kamara missed the week before. They were able to overcome it and sneak Alvin Kamara into that championship round, and not too many other teams had him. So when Alvin Kamara goes off for 56 points and you're one of the only teams with Kamara, dear God, you were just driving up to the bank. The second that Alvin Kamara scores that 4th touchdown, you're loading up the kids in the car. You're going, hey, guys, we're going down to the bank. We just won $1 million. We are probably moving to Mexico. God knows what's going to happen. Okay. So after this, Derek Carr 101. I wouldn't have been too interested in Carr, even though we have Renfro. It's whatever. Dallas Goedert 102. I would have really liked getting Dallas Goedert coming back to us when we had Jalen Hurts. I think that would have been a great combo, especially with Mark Andrews. I think those players could have cycled through our flex spot as well. This is back-to-back drafts where we have to take Sky Moore. I want to applaud everyone for pushing Sky Moore down these draft boards. I think Sky Moore was one of the worst values ever when he was going in the 7th. But here I think we just end up taking a receiver. Between Olave, Chase Claypool, Garrett Wilson, it's hard to make an argument for any of these guys over the other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Claypool. So let's think through this. Yeah, let's take Claypool. I mean, going back to what we were discussing with trends that you're seeing in these drafts, like if you're seeing Chase Claypool as a player that's rising up ADP where Garrett Wilson is falling down, usually when those trends start, it doesn't really stop anytime soon. Like if Chase Claypool is climbing up draft boards, you should expect that to almost continue to happen. So I think maybe you are no longer going to be able to get Claypool around pick 105. Maybe this is someone that you end up having to take at the 8-9 turn in the middle of the 8th round by the time we get to August. GA says the winner on Underdog was the only team with Kamara. Yeah, that's what I thought. I just didn't want to say that and be wrong. There was 1 or 2 other teams there. That's what I was saying. Like, that's why it's also on Underdog Fantasy in these tournaments. There is an argument to be made. You have to do some mental gymnastics, but there's an argument to be made to possibly handcuff an elite running back. Like say if you draft Dalvin Cook and later on you have the opportunity to take Alexander Mattison at a value. There's an argument to be made in this tournament setting to go ahead and take Madison, because what would happen if Dalvin Cook, say, has a low ankle sprain, week 6, he misses 6 weeks of the year. Or he does that week, call it 8. He misses weeks 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Even he misses week 15. But you had Alexander Mattison, so you had that league-winning player at that time. Then Dalvin Cook comes back week 16, and you're one of the only teams in the contest with Dalvin Cook. It's very appealing. That's why I love drafting Chris Godwin here. That's why I love drafting Robert Woods. That's why I like drafting these players that may not be productive at the beginning of the year. I'm fine with DeAndre Hopkins, but later on, they do possess that elite level upside to be that league winner at a low ownership percentage as well. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, Rashad Penny goes, we're going to go back-to-back drafts with Cordell Patterson. It is what it is. We're getting him at pick 112. You should expect some serious regression in Atlanta. This should be one of the worst offenses in the league. But, dear God, guys, I am sorry. I am 100%, of course, going to finish this draft, but I want to still have a girlfriend after today. And if I want to still have a girlfriend after today, I'm probably going to have to cut off this live stream. But thank you again, of course, for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. I appreciate all of y'all. 6-letter, I see you out here. And yeah, thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great Sunday. I hope you're able to spend it with your family. And yeah, have a great one.